All right, let's dive into something a little different today. This deep dive comes straight from senior technical writer Curt Robbins.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he suggested we take a look at how top design teams make documentation people actually use.
That's a good one.
It is, right.
Okay.
So we're looking at this article from Figma's Story Studio.
Okay.
It's called Documentation That Drives Adoption. And it was published on January 23rd by Ayres.
Got it.
So if you're, a technical writer or a documentation expert, or really anyone in IT who wants to make resources people actually use, this one's for you.
This article, it just cuts to the chase, It starts right out with the problem.
Oh, totally.
Inconsistent designs,
Yeah.
missing details.
Yep.
Designers and developers not communicating well.
Like, it just gets right to it. And they use this really good example from Razorpay,
Okay.
where they realized they didn't have documentation for things like, different button states, or like how to handle errors in text fields.
I've been there.
Oh, yeah, for sure. You think you're ready to go, and then boom, something's missing.
Exactly. That's why I like how this article talks about documentation as a bridge.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Ayres isn't just saying, hey, make a list of components.
Right.
She's talking about documenting the why behind everything.
So it's like having a shared understanding.
Exactly. Like a blueprint that connects the designer's intention with how the developer actually builds it.
That makes a lot of sense. But then, you got to figure out, where do you put all this documentation?
Right.
The article talks about a bunch of different approaches.
Like what?
Well, you have those really impressive custom sites, like, what Google does with material design?
Yeah.
Or IBM with Carbon?
Those are good.
Yeah, and even eBay has a custom site.
Oh, wow.
It's called Evo.
Oh.
Those custom sites, they look great.
Oh, yeah.
And they give you a lot of flexibility.
Hi. They take a lot of work to keep up.
Oh, for sure. Not every team can, afford to build and maintain something like that.
Exactly.
So what about just using something like Notion?
Or Confluence.
Yeah, Confluence. Those platforms can be easier to manage, especially if you're a smaller team.
Definitely. You can get started really quickly.
Right. You don't have to build the whole thing from scratch.
But you might lose some of the customization and integrations you get with a custom site.
True. It seems like there's no perfect answer, It depends on what your team needs.
And your resources.
Yeah, for sure.
It's interesting. Some teams combine approaches. The article mentions Razorpay. They actually built a custom plugin.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's called Razor Sharp.
Okay.
They realized that to get people to use the documentation, it had to be right there in their workflow.
Makes sense.
So they made this plugin that connects the documentation to the tools their developers already use.
So they're meeting people where they are.
Exactly. That's a big part of it, because even the most amazing documentation is useless if nobody can find it or use it easily.
That's true. Okay, so let's say you figured out the where. Now it's like, what do you actually put in this documentation?
Well, Ayres says there are a few essential parts.
Like what?
First, you got to start with your design principles,
Okay.
the why behind your design decisions.
So it's not just like, here's what the button looks like.
Right. It's more like, here's why the button looks this way.
Makes sense.
Then you have your component library,
Okay.
which needs to be more than just a visual list.
Yeah.
It should have usage guidelines, best practices, maybe even some code snippets or prototypes.
Oh, wow. So you're giving developers everything they need to implement things correctly.
Exactly.
And then, of course, you've got your visual style guide.
Right, with all the details about colors, typography, icons, image standards.
Yeah, all of that. And, of course, you want to make sure accessibility guidelines are woven in throughout.
It's interesting what the article says about eBay's experience with this. They found that the more detailed and specific their documentation was,
Yeah.
the more their teams actually wanted to use it.
Oh, wow.
People were really looking for guidance on those specific situations, those edge cases.
So it wasn't overwhelming. It was actually helpful.
Exactly. It became the go-to source for anything related to their design system.
So they created something people actually wanted to use.
That's the goal. Right.
That is the goal, yeah. But then that brings up another point, keeping it up to date.
Oh, absolutely. Outdated documentation, it's useless. Or even worse, it can cause problems.
It's like a map that leads you in the wrong direction.
Yeah, exactly.
So you need clear processes to keep everything current.
The article mentions things like contribution guidelines,
Okay.
version control, change logs, all important stuff.
It's like having a system in place to keep that map accurate.
Precisely.
I like it.
And you know what Razorpay did? They made documentation a required step in their process for creating new components.
Wait, really?
Yeah, it's not an afterthought. It's part of the workflow from the beginning.
So before a component is considered finished, the documentation has to be there.
Exactly. It's about making documentation part of the DNA of the design system.
That's smart. It takes away the temptation to skip it because it feels like extra work.
Right. And eBay, they have this really neat thing called a component status table.
What's that?
It shows developers the implementation status of different components across all their platforms.
So everyone's on the same page.
Exactly. And it makes sure everything aligns with what's in Figma and their playbook.
So they're not just documenting the design itself, they're documenting the whole life cycle of the component.
Exactly. I think what both of these examples show is that you got to be proactive. You can't just make documentation and then forget about it. You have to put in the work to keep it relevant.
So invest in the tools and processes that make that easier. Okay, so we've talked about where to put your documentation, what to put in it, and how to keep it up to date. But what about the people actually using it?
Right.
A designer is going to need something different than a developer, right?
Absolutely. You have to tailor your documentation to different audiences.
Like you wouldn't give someone a map of the ocean if they're going hiking. Right?
Yeah, totally.
So how do you figure out what each audience needs?
The article suggests a few things. One is just ask.
Okay.
Talk to your designers, developers, product managers,
Uh-huh.
whoever's going to use the documentation. Figure out what their pain points are.
Okay.
What info do they need? How do they like to get that info?
It's like user research, like you do for any other product.
Exactly. Think of your documentation as a product itself.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, how do you measure if it's actually working? Is it just page views? Or is there more to it?
Page views can be misleading. Just because someone opens a page
Right.
doesn't mean they actually use the information.
That's true.
The article talks about how Razorpay goes beyond page views.
How so?
They use things like surveys,
Okay.
and they set goals for design system usage.
In their actual products.
Yeah, both new and existing products.
So they're looking at whether the documentation is actually changing how teams build things.
That's the idea. They're asking questions like, are teams using the design system more often?
Uh-huh.
Are they finding it easier to work together?
Yeah.
Is it leading to better products?
Those are the metrics that matter.
Yes, exactly.
It's about connecting the dots between the documentation and the outcomes.
Right. I think the future of documentation is going to be even more integrated.
Oh, interesting.
Imagine designing in Figma and all the documentation is right there.
Wow.
No more switching tabs or searching for info.
That would be a game changer.
Right.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of practical stuff, but I'm curious, what are some of the bigger challenges, when it comes to documentation?
I think one of the biggest challenges is just getting people to care about it in the first place.
Yeah.
It's often seen as an afterthought, something you do at the end when everyone's already tired.
Right, because it's not the most, fun part of the process.
Yeah, but the truth is it's important.
Oh, totally.
It's not about making pretty documents. It's about making sure everyone understands the system.
Yeah, it's a source of truth.
Exactly.
And it can save you time and money in the long run.
Absolutely. When it's done well, you prevent mistakes. You don't have to redo things.
Right.
It makes the whole design and development process better.
So how do we convince teams that it's worth the effort?
One way is to highlight the benefits that we were just talking about.
Okay.
Another is to make it more engaging.
Oh, interesting.
The article mentions teams using videos, interactive prototypes, even gamification.
So it's not just boring technical documents anymore.
Right. It's about finding ways to make the information fun and interesting.
I like that. Thinking outside the box a little.
Exactly. And I think it's also important to build a culture of documentation. Make clear guidelines and processes.
Okay.
Give people the right tools. And recognize good documentation practices.
So it's not just about individuals. It's about the whole organization valuing it.
Exactly. When you have that kind of culture, documentation becomes less of a chore and more of just part of the process.
Okay, so we've talked about prioritizing documentation, making it engaging, and building a culture around it. But what about technology? What role does that play?
Technology is huge in documentation these days. We talked about Notion and Confluence.
Yeah.
But there are also more specialized tools coming out.
Oh, really? Like what?
There are tools that automate creating documentation from your design files.
Okay.
Tools that let you put interactive prototypes and code right into your documentation.
Wow.
And tools to manage different versions and track changes.
It sounds like technology is really changing the game.
Yeah, it is. And I think we're just going to see more innovation in the future.
Wow. Okay, so we've covered a lot. We talked about the importance of documentation, the challenges,
Mm-hmm.
and the role of technology.
Yeah.
But it all comes down to one question. What makes documentation truly effective?
That's the big question, isn't it?
It is.
And I think the answer is simple. It's effective when people actually use it.
So it's accessible, it's relevant, and it actually helps people do their jobs better.
Exactly. It's not about writing these huge, complicated documents that nobody reads.
Right.
It's about making resources that are easy to find, easy to use,
Uh-huh.
and that give people real value, meeting them where they work. And the article makes a really good point about investing in the right tools and processes.
Oh, yeah.
If you want your documentation to stay relevant, you can't treat it like an afterthought.
It has to be part of your system, like Razorpay does, by making documentation part of their component creation process.
Right. Or like eBay with their custom tools that automatically update their documentation from Figma.
Yeah. They're making it as easy as possible to keep everything in sync.
Exactly. It's about removing the barriers and making sure people can find the information they need when they need it.
To sum it all up, it sounds like effective documentation takes planning, effort, and ongoing maintenance.
Yeah.
You need to understand your audience,
Hmm.
invest in the right tools and processes,
Uh-huh.
and make part of your workflow.
It's an investment that's worth it because good documentation helps everyone build better things.
All right, so that wraps up this deep dive into documentation that drives adoption.
Thanks for having me.
Big thanks to Curt Robbins for suggesting this awesome article by Carly Ayres.
Definitely.
We'll link to it in the show notes, so be sure to check it out. Until next time,
Keep diving deep.
keep diving deep.